Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds. And here's me today. I have a diamond in the rough that I want you guys to meet. His name is Jalan Gaines. He's an edge rusher out of Illinois State. Nice to have you today, sir.
Thank you for having me on here. I appreciate you taking the time out for reaching out and having me want to do this Zoom interview. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, and feel like a lot of people need to get to know you. If people aren't really paying attention to the background, you're in the locker room, you're in playoffs, you're preparing for game this coming weekend against your opponent, hoping for greater things as you continue this past this last year of yours for your team. So Jalen, let's go ahead and get after it. Introduce yourself and let's get going.
My name is Jalan Gaines. I'm a 23-year-old from the south side of Chicago, Illinois. I have two beautiful kids, a son that I just had a few weeks ago, and then a 2-year-old daughter. I have six siblings. I'm the very oldest, and I just want to go out and set a great example for all my siblings.
Cool. Well, again, congrats. I gave you the congrats over the social media, but I want to do that obviously publicly. Being a new dad again, kind of nice. So, uh, interesting story of yours that I want people to know. Again, let's start from really the beginning. How long have you played football?
So I kind of really didn't like. I've always like played football like around with my friends at like home, but I didn't really get into organized football until my freshman year of high school. With one of my close buddies, or still one of my close friends today, he just recommended that, hey, let's go try out for the freshman football team. We went in one day and it kind of just took off from there.
Well, hey, it's done well for you, seemingly so far. I think a lot of kids growing up in the Chicago area probably grew up being more basketball fans, if we're being real. But also obviously growing up football fans. Growing up, I mean, tell me about you as a kid, maybe your personal fandom. I kind of get a glimpse of your fandom, going over your social media. I feel like you got to be a Bulls fan.
Oh yeah, I'm I'm a Bulls fan. I'm a White Sox fan. I'm a Blackhawks fan. All Chicago sports teams. That's what I support. Before I originally got into football, I was like you mentioned, I was a heavy basketball player. Like I started playing basketball as soon as I was able to shoot. So like you mentioned, a lot of people, a lot of kids from Chicago, like obviously are big basketball fans. That's eventually when my athletic career kind of started off at.
Yeah, and did a little bit of basketball during your time in high school. Went to Oaklawn High School. Um, any other memories that you'd like to share from your high school days? Again, going back to that time.
Just really like one of the biggest memories I can bring from high school, besides like my athletic career, was just all the good friendships that I've made there. Coming into going to Oak Lawn, I wasn't originally from the area, so I was just going there, meeting new people, just making new friends. I'm obviously still close with those friends and those friends that I've made today. I'm just glad that I was able to, have that opportunity to meet those guys and, experience those new opportunities. And I really feel like that really helped make me the man I am today.
Great. And coming out of Oaklawn High School, you actually didn't end up going to Illinois State first. I mean, you went to Dubuque. So as you're being recruited out of high school, what's going on? Why did you end up there versus perhaps somewhere else?
So coming out of high school, I didn't really have too many other like college teams come to look at me besides the University of Dubuque, another football school, another college university, St. Xavier, were kind of looking at me. They're also in near that Oak Lawn area, but I obviously didn't have the GPA that was required to attend there. So the University of Dubuque was really the only school that gave me the opportunity to allow me to continue playing my football career. I just kind of took it and just went there with that.
Yeah, and I guess the other challenge is you're one of these players who I kind of am deeming a COVID recruit. You're having to deal with the pandemic like right out the gate. And so how did that kind of maybe affect your recruiting, even your first year of playing collegiately?
So like my first semester, my first semester was pre-COVID, so obviously things were kind of a regular college, football semester. We still had fall camp, we still had our full season in 2019, but once COVID hit in 2020, it seemed like everything just kind of basically shut down. Like that was the big thing for it. Like, we weren't able to like work out, practices had to be stopped, and then it just kind of all went crazy. And then when we joined back up in August of 2020, we all had to wear masks, get tested weekly, have the mask on our helmets and all those type of things. So, it was a pretty big adjustment, but I was just glad that I was able to kind of experience a little bit of college football before a little bit of pre-COVID, I guess.
Gotcha. So you're at Dubuque for a little bit, but of course, end up at Illinois State. How did that process work? I mean, obviously, you put your name in the transfer portal, you end up there at Illinois State. Are there other options for you as you're transferring? Can you walk me through that?
So when I originally decided to get in the portal, I think it was a few other D3s had like reached out, but the only other Division 1 football school that reached out to me was Valparaiso. I think how you pronounce it, Valparaiso. But I just really wanted to I just decided to walk on Illinois State because I just felt like it'd give me the better chance at, playing at a higher level. And it's really closer to home than the University of Dubuque is. So home right now is like an hour and 45 minutes away, whereas to the University of Dubuque, it's about a 3 hour, 3.5 hour drive. So I really feel like that played a big part in me wanting to decide to come here as well.
So you said you walked on at Illinois State. So how long was it until you got put on scholarship?
It took about I walked on in August of 2022. I got put on scholarship. I want to say it was the spring season after that. I got put on. They gave me a little bit of money to help with my books and cost of attendance and all that type of things. And then right before the season, my first full start, I was put on scholarship.
Nice. So obviously it's always good to have that memory of being put on scholarship. I think a lot of kids like when they first hear that they're like, the burden has been lifted, man. Like, you don't got to pay for things anymore. So it's an awesome feeling. So um bro, obviously big difference going from Division 3 to Division 1. So talk about it a little bit, man. I mean, obviously, big guys in a small pond, coming to D1. Talk about it.
I'm not so like one of the very first things I realized that my very first practice at Illinois State, like the big difference was the speed of the game. Like everything at this level was like fast, like everybody's always moving. It's just the pace of the game just like really sped up to me. Like at the Division 3 level, you saw kind of fast receivers, you saw big offensive linemen, but I really feel like the skill difference and the speed of the game is really what like makes that big difference. At first, I'm not gonna lie, my first few practices I did have a few problems trying to adjust to the speed of the game up here, but after a while, I kind of got used to it, and I think I really settled in really pretty well.
I mean, it is a bit of a shock for people. I mean, I think sometimes, people will always ask, well, What is the difference? And there are obvious differences. There are differences in size, but there's also differences in speed, like a lot of people say. I mean, and you got to adjust. You have to learn how to adjust. So there's a little bit of a learning curve. It takes a little bit of time for some people. So it's okay that it took you some time. Obviously, man, I mean, when I get a guy like you, where you come to the scene, a big guy as an edge rusher, I do feel like, hey, I'm going to give you some more time. I'm going to give you some time to develop. I'm fine with that. So, do want to let some people know what we're looking at here. So, Jalen, go ahead. What is your current height and weight?
So currently, right now, I am 6'4". I am 240 pounds, and I'm still working on getting bigger, faster, and stronger.
Yeah, and the other thing that I found out, which really I don't know helps you as a prospect, and I feel like people need to know is got a big wingspan, over 80 inches, 80 and a quarter inch wing, um, 33 and 5/8 inch arms, some big hands too. So 10 and 5/8 inch hands. I mean, you are checking all the boxes when I'm thinking about size. So, I mean, I have no issues at all. For you as an edge rusher at the D1 level and beyond, of course, being a prospect. Um, Other than the obvious, man, what do you feel separates you from perhaps other people at your position? Talk to me about some of your best traits.
Honestly, some of my best traits, honestly, that I will obviously say would be my pass rushing. I put a lot of time and effort into, perfecting my craft and to make sure I put every little detail into my moves. And I just really spent a lot of time just perfecting my craft, just even back at the Division 3 level, I was always, whenever after practice or any of those type of things, I'll just be out there still working on my moves, even when it's literally just me out there. And I really feel like that helped, like my hard working mentality just helped me be able to perfect my moves. Obviously, I still have a lot to learn when it comes to terms into pass rushing. Like in life, I really feel like that you should just always be a lifelong learner, as you would say. But I think I still have a lot to learn when it comes to in terms of pass rushing. But I definitely feel like pass rushing would be one of my best abilities.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that there's been a lot that's changed since coming out of high school, and of course, really doing very well at the Division 1 level. Um, what would you say has changed the most, of that kid coming out of high school versus now? Like, how would you maybe describe the two, or how would you talk about
Well, I really one of the biggest things I can actually say is my maturity. I feel like when I went to the Division 3 in Iowa, it was really my first time leaving my hometown, Chicago, Illinois. So I was really out there by myself. So that really forced me to have to grow up and, become a man sooner than, most people obviously want to. And I really feel like that helped develop me into the player that I am today. It forced me to work hard and, focus on the little details and not take things in life for granted.
Yeah, and I mean, you go through all of the things that a college student has to go through. I mean, maturity does take a little bit of time. And so again, if we're being fair, you come in as a freshman, it takes a minute,
Yeah.
in order for you to kind of get your feet wet, figure out how to make things work. So um, you're there now. You're there at Illinois State. Again, like I had mentioned, you guys, preparing for a playoff game here soon. Let's talk about Illinois State. Talk about that defense, if you don't mind. Describe that defense if you can, for people. Go ahead.
If you ask me personally, I think we have one of the best, if not the best, defenses in the FCS level. When you look at our inside linebackers, outside linebackers, safeties, cornerbacks, defensive line, I mean, we have ballers at every position. I really feel like the difference from this year from last year is obviously we had more time to work with each other, but I just feel like we all grew as a unit, and that just made us want to play for one another, which makes us play harder. Like we have guys at each position that is capable of taking over a game at any single time. And I really feel like that's what helped makes our defense very, very dangerous.
I mean, I feel like there were some guys like last year who really did very well on offense, and maybe perhaps this season the team has had to really heavily lean upon the defense. How have you taken that? I guess really responsibility for helping to lead the program.
I'm sorry, can you ask that question again? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Again, a little bit of a changeover from last season where like a lot of guys from offense really help lead the way. And then now we're having a lot of great talent on defense kind of lead the way this season. Talk about how that has really come together.
I feel like that really made us play more as a team. Like we all try to like that's one of our biggest goals as a team this year is we all play as one complete unit, not just play our defense has a good game or offense has a good game. Every phase, offense, defense, and special teams, have we all do our best to make sure we have a good game. And when all three phases of our team are on point in a game, it's been very good this year.
Cool. Well, I mean, I'm sure there have been a lot of people who we can talk about there, on your team. But if there's some guys that you would say have been maybe perhaps the most influential for you, whether it be a coach, a teammate, even somebody outside of sports, who has been that person for you that has really helped you the most along the way?
I can honestly name a few guys. To start off outside of football, I would say my mom and my dad. Um, Also my defensive line coach at the University of Dubuque. His name is Cal Eveloy. He really helped make sure that I stuck to football and make sure I stayed on top of my priorities and make sure everything is okay. And then when it comes in terms of football, I would just say literally the guys that I'm playing with today, Keandre Jackson, Amir Abdullah, Ty Camp, the boys Deontay McCoy, Mark Cannon, Tion Parks, just all those guys and I'm probably leaving out a bunch, but just my teammates they just help make sure we flourish. And I feel like that's what really makes us play hard because we have guys here that actually genuinely care about each other. And I feel like when you have those type of guys in the program, it just makes the team wants to play harder when you have that brotherhood that's just so locked in together.
Gotcha. Jalen, do want to actually talk about really just kind of your overall success. I do want to reminisce a little, even though you do have one more game left to go, but do want to reminisce about what you've been able to put together over the course of your career so far. When you think back at either this season or previous years, is there maybe a moment, one of your favorite highlights of your career that you can maybe walk me through?
I would go back to the Missouri State game last year. It was the fourth quarter. It was a 2 minute situation. Our offense had just scored to give us the lead. We were up 36-35. And in those last four plays, I ended up getting two sacks to help seal the game away for our team. And I just felt like I just remember coming off the field and just seeing the team just jumping around and cheering. And I don't know why, but in that moment it really just like hit me. I don't know what the word is, but like that moment for surely really stood out to me. Like, wow, I really love this game.
Cool. And again, second round of the playoffs right now. You got UC Davis doing very well this year. You guys are supposed to be facing up against them very soon. How are you going to get the W and move on, man? And maybe, go even deeper in the playoffs. Talk me through it.
Well, first off, it's a lot of things we have to do because they have a lot of great players. They're good up front. Tight ends are good. Running backs are really good. Quarterbacks really good. Receivers are really good. But for our defense to be able to go out there and make sure we go out there and do what we have to do. It's a few things we have to do. We have to make sure we tackle well. We have to make sure we're executing our plays and our technique to the very minute detail. Make sure we leave no mistakes. and we just have to go out there and play our butts off. I feel like as long as we go out there and play our butts off, we go out there and execute as much as best as we can, like I know we can, and we go out there and we tackle very, very well. I really feel like we'll like the results that ends up coming at the end of Saturday's game.
Yeah, and I mean, I know Jalen that I am talking to a game changer, who can really affect the outcome of that particular game. I mean, get a guy who I know can, make plays in the backfield, be very quick off the ball, hopefully get a couple sacks.
Hope
Here's hoping, you know. It'd be, hey, want to see how many sacks we can get like before hang it up there at Illinois State. So um, cool. So, do want to get a chance to meet the guy outside of football just a little bit. Just know some of it since you had mentioned early on. But anything else about you that we need to know? Fun facts, um, any special talents, like anything you want to say about yourself that we haven't said already?
um like I already said, I have two beautiful kids. I also have two dogs, Lola and Legacy. That's about it. I have a very lovely girlfriend that I love a lot. I have a huge supporting cast with family and friends. Even when I get down sometimes about my performance or about how I'm playing, just that inner circle that always help bring me up and keep me positive. Just those type of little things. And I mean, I don't really have any other hobbies besides, football. I guess I'm a pretty boring guy. I mean, um, uh, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, I
No,
just
you're fine. I mean, dude, I realize that, when it comes to football, a lot of guys that I talk to, it is truly their life. They don't do much else besides just kind of like try and rest a little bit, and that's okay. So, um, I am just trying to pick their brain a little bit, have a little bit of fun during our time. Uh, as a guy from the Chicago area, whenever I think of Chicago, I think of pizza. Um, so is there maybe a local joint out there that you would say is one of the best?
honestly, if you ask me, I think Italian Fiesta is one of the best pizza places. It's a thin crust. I'm a big thin crust pizza guy. I think it's
I don't know, man.
honestly
That's kind of counter the Chicago way. I don't know what's going on there.
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I've tried deep dish pizza a few times. I don't know what it is. I'm just not a huge fan of, but I'm a big thin crust pizza guy, and I think Italian Fiesta is one of the best inner city pizza places to try for sure.
All right. Well, hopefully that doesn't cause too much controversy at home. But hey, that's fun. It's fun just to kind of chit chat through it. So, um, I mentioned again, Chicago fan of all these other sports, so that's kind of fun. Is there, I don't know. I mean, do you have a favorite athlete in some other sport? Like, who would that be for you?
So, I mean, another athlete. Well, can it be football?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go for it. It's fine.
A football player that I idolized growing up would be J.J. Watt. So I'm somewhat of a Texans fan just because of J.J. Watt, and just watching him when he was dominating the league in his prime, just really that also really was a big factor in like how hard I wanted to work because I just seen like everything he did. I wanted to be J.J. Watt. Like I don't know, he's definitely the person that when it comes to football that I would say I'm the biggest fan for sure. It'd be J.J. Watt.
Bro, hey, you're preaching to the choir. I think that almost every single kid, even from anywhere, whether it be from guy in you know any part of the country, of course. JJ Watt is a legend on and off the field. The guy showed so much grit, determination, just overall like intensity. I mean, you got to love a guy like that. I don't know. Yeah, I completely understand. So, um, couple more rapid fire questions just to kind of throw your way just for fun. I know we've just kind of like, tried to BS these last little bit of questions, which is just fine, and I don't mind doing it that way. Um, uh, So as a parent now, you find yourself I don't know, watching some of these kid shows yet? I mean, are you doing that? Like, you watching like Dora the Explorer? What is the one thing that you get a kick out of being a parent?
Probably, I'm not gonna lie. Besides like watching the shows, probably trying like the little baby cookies or like some of those type of little things. Like I've tried them like once or twice. They not too bad, but my daughter's really big on Moana. She probably watches that movie. I probably watch that movie a gazillion times. I can probably almost cite you almost every word, every line from that movie. But yeah, that's probably it.
Hey, it's fun. They got another one coming out here very soon. So I mean, I don't know if you're planning on watching that one. I mean, I would assume so. So, uh, cool. Anything else? Any other fun fact or anything that you want to talk about? I mean, I think we've talked about a lot of. Are you okay if we move on?
Yeah, that's fine.
Jalen, we do need to wrap up our time. It's been fun. We learned a lot about you as a person, as a player, and obviously you're trying to prove once again with trying to finish out strong this season and impress a whole lot of scouts. Um, Talk to all those scouts right now. Tell them what kind of a player you'd be if they took a chance on you. End with your pitch and any of your closing thoughts. Go for it.
I just want to let all the scouts know that you'll get a very hard working and determined individual and player, no matter what obstacles or adversity in life. I always stay positive and I just always keep working, no matter if things go good or bad. I'll always be the same individual and I'll always just keep working hard. No matter what's getting thrown in front of me, I always get back up, brush off my pants, brush off my shoulders, and just keep moving forward. And I think that's the type of stuff that you need in a good football player and a good athlete as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I have to go back to this because I do think it truly helps. I mean, when you have a guy who comes in and immediately is a presence, who can be an excellent edge rusher, who has the size to compete with top talent, again, over 80-inch wingspan, able to get around people, has good bend, those sorts of things. I mean, um, definitely does help as a prospect. So, um, Jalen, do want to wish you all the best this weekend and beyond. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Again, have with me Jalen Gaines. He is an edge rusher out of Illinois State. Check him out.
All right. Thank you.